Hi everyone, hope you're happy, healthy and well. It's not a book review day today, simply because I am reading a couple of books. But what I thought I'd do is actually show you the books there that I have recently bought from a secondhand bookstore and talk about those. Okay, so I know we have got a whole heap of books to go through, but before we go through them, I just want to quickly say that a lot of my books that I buy are from independent booksellers or secondhand bookstores, or obviously borrowed from the library. When I do buy something new, I buy it because I want it to be part of a collection. So for example, I love the works of George Orwell, so I've bought his entire body of work simply because I want to have it in my library and it's something I want to refer to in the future. Same for Hemingway, and I really want to also start a collection with Murakami as well. All these books that I have to show you today all come from a secondhand bookstore and all are less than $5. Usually I do not buy off Amazon simply because I prefer not to. I simply want to help local booksellers, the community and the independents at as much of the time as I can. So let's go through the books. Now, when I go through these books, the majority of them I don't know what they're about, and the way I buy books is I look at the author, if I know the author, if I've heard of the book before, or if I've got friends reading the book or they recommend it, I'll buy the book. Otherwise, it's a bit hit and miss sometimes. What I'd love from you is you tell me what you think about any of these books. How should I approach the works? What are the things that you got out of them when you read these books? And also offer some other suggestions of the same authors. Okay, first things first, Émile Zola, Thérèse Raquin. Again, I don't know much about this book, but I do know that obviously a French author. It is a story about an adultery that goes wrong. Part of me thinks that it would help my French a lot if I actually read the book in its original language, which I can do right now, but I know it'll take me a long time. I will read it in English first. Hopefully, if I find a French version of these classic books, I can then buy that and compare the English and the French, because it'll help with my language skills. Okay, so the next one is The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. The reason I bought this book is simply because of this author here, where he talks about the four loves of friendship, eros, charity and affection, I think. Yeah, again, I don't know much about this book. I do know that there are a whole heap of books written about love and the different types of love. So this one I bought simply because of the author. This third book, Elie Wiesel, called Night. It's a very short book, as you can see. Now, the reason I bought this book is because it is from the memoirs of someone who has been through 2 concentration camps in Nazi Germany, Auschwitz and Buchenwald. And because I like reading books from World War II or stories of World War II, because I do believe that the more that we know and understand that history, that we don't repeat that same history again. So Elie Wiesel, The Night, is about the horrific experiences in the concentration camps. This little book is by Anton Chekhov. This is a short story with 3 disturbing tales of supernatural hallucinations, hysterical obsession and moral decay, a nervous breakdown. The reason I bought this is a friend is reading this book, and because she mentioned it, I saw it in the shelves. Naturally, I bought it for a couple of dollars. I'm really looking forward to reading this one by Robert Dessaix. It is The Twilight of Love, Travels with Turgenev. Now, this has got a really interesting premise. It says here that for 40 years, until the day he died, Ivan Turgenev, one of the greatest novelists of Russia's golden age, was passionately devoted to the diva Pauline Viardot, and he followed her and her husband around Europe, even living with them amicably as times as part of their household. Weird, who does that? Anyway, yeah, as far as we know, the relationship with Pauline was chaste. What then does Turgenev mean by love? The word at the core of his life and work. After all, he had many other liaisons. So another book about a different kind of love. So this might be very interesting. I'm looking forward to reading this one. Now, Tolstoy. Good old Tolstoy, Anna Karenina. Simply because I bought this book simply because I finished reading War and Peace. This took me 2 months to read. As you can see, I've marked it up. I have still yet to do a review on it. I will do so very, very soon. But after I read War and Peace, I immediately went out and bought Anna Karenina. This book was particularly published around 1977. It looks kind of 70s feel with the yellow pages and everything. So I'm looking forward to reading this. But after Tolstoy, I must admit, I got into Dostoevsky in a big, big way. Flaubert's Parrot by Julian Barnes. The reason I got this book is because another author mentioned this book somewhere, somehow, and I can't remember where. It's not surprising because the testimonials on the front of this book from John Fowles, Graham Greene, John Irvin and Germaine Greer and Joseph Heller all rave about this book. And of course, let's not forget, it's Julian Barnes. He's a brilliant author, and I recently reviewed Metroland, which was his first book. It was a brilliant book, and I saw this, I immediately bought it, even though I know nothing about Flaubert and I haven't read his books, although I do know that he was a colourful character. All right, Anton Chekhov, the plays. I have not read any plays at all. If you've read any of Chekhov's plays, please let me know how to approach these. What do you suggest? How do I go into them? What would you recommend to start off with first? Good old Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. I love Dostoevsky. Oh my God. Oh my God. I cannot believe that after reading War and Peace, I immediately went on to Notes of Underground, and then I read that, and then I read The Gambler, and I also read The Double, and I loved his work. So I bought Crime and Punishment, and today I went into the booksellers and I saw that they had Demons on the shelf, but Demons, they were charging $38 for it. I couldn't afford $38, so I need to find Demons as a second-hand copy to have that as well. Part of me is thinking now I should have just got all of Dostoevsky's in full price, simply so I can have them on my shelf. Man, I want Dostoevsky's collection. Let's move on. Oliver Sacks, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. I've heard of this book. There's so many people who made reference to this book, and it was really weird because I thought, what is it about? And it looks as if it's about the brain, what happens when things go wrong. So it's a different kind of book that I was expecting. So look, have you read this book? What did you think? Is it any good? Brideshead Revisited and Officers and Gentlemen by Wall. The reason I bought this is simply because of the book, and also I remembered the original TV series that used to be on about Brideshead Revisited. I'd never seen the show. I knew it was the recollections of a captain about an aristocratic family in England. I saw these two and I bought them. Now with this one though, this happens to be a part of a trilogy, and I didn't know at the time. The first book is Unconditional Surrender, the second book is Officers and a Gentleman, and the third book is Men at Arms. Now I have to go and buy the first and the third book, so I'm going to go back to that bookstore and ask if they've got the first and third book in stock. The reason I bought this book is not only because of their name, but there was a mention about the Battle of Crete in this, and the Battle of Crete is a battle that is very well known during World War II, and I wanted to, I guess, read about it from a fictional perspective. So I'm looking forward to reading this. The next one, it is by Euripides, and it is Medea and some other plays. There's 4 plays in this one. Hecabe, Electra and Heracles. I don't know why I haven't read any Greek plays. I'm even of a Greek background, go figure. you know, I'm sure my parents will be very happy to know that I have started reading Greek plays. Now, this is completely new to me. I'm interested to learn from you. What should I start with? How do I approach this? What are some ways of being able to get into plays that were written thousands of years ago? So let me know what you think about this one. The second last book is this one called The Leopard. I've no idea why I bought this book. I know nothing about it. It is Tomasi di Lampedusa. Again, I don't know anything about this author. Yeah, so I'm not even going to, to even talk about it. I don't know. So you tell me, what is this book about and what would you suggest? And the last of all, She by Haggard. Now, he was an early writer, so 1856, he died in 1925. This was really bizarre for me. I flicked through it and it seemed fantastical. I think this is going to be an imaginative read. So I'd be interested in your thoughts. If you've read this and you've read this, let me know what you think. Are these worth reading? What are the things I should look out for? Anyway, so they're the books that are going to keep me busy in 2023. There's 2 additional books that I'm currently reading at the moment, which I'll review a bit later on. James Wood, How Fiction Works, which I bought simply because I wanted to read about a way that I can read fiction and really critique it and understand the author and understand the structure, the narration, kind of like how dialogue is structured, and really when I read a book to critique it from that point of view, because the way I read a book is by feeling and by the emotions that when I read it, what feeling and emotions come out, and whether it's readable for me, whether it's a book that actually makes me get some emotion out of me. The other book is Sylvia Plath's collection of poems that was published after she had committed suicide, and I'm not much of a poetry let's get real, I don't read any poetry whatsoever. So I picked this one up simply because it was Sylvia Plath. I started reading this book and these poems are really heavy hitting. Initially I would read them and I would have no idea what's going on, zero idea. And I started to read them and reread them and reread them so many times, and I made my own notes in them. And only when I started reading them over and over and over again, and I let those feelings kind of wash over me, that's when I realized that these were so evocative, and these were themes of death or childhood or creativity that were really, really hard hitting. But at first reading, you thought, what the hell have I just read? But these take a long time to read, especially if you need to explore what she is talking about and how the poem is structured. But beautiful poems, but not something that you could read and just because it's in a thin book that you think, oh, I'm going to finish it up nice and quickly. No, you don't. Anyway, that's it for all the books I have bought. Let me know what you think. I'd be interested in your thoughts. What are the books that you liked? Who are the authors that you liked? How would you read them? Where do I start from? What suggestions do you make? So let me know what you think, because I'd like to learn from you. All right then, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Bye.